How you guys doing?
Good.
Great. Yeah.
So your first, have you been here before?
Yes, this was second time.
Ah, cool.
Second time. First time was for the BAFTA Awards.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll wait for y'all.
Big fan of both the Spider-Man video games that you're in and Last of Us.
Thank you,
and,
man.
Was there any, I was wondering, when you got the role of Miles, was there any particular comic book issues or runs or graphic novels that you sort of went to for research or inspiration for your own portrayal of him?
So at first, yeah, I called my uncle. I called my uncle ironically. And you know, when I remember this day like it was yesterday. And this was when I was doing the voice for Miles on Disney XD, you know, for the Ultimate Spider-Man First, the series.
Yeah.
And I called my uncle like, hey, you know, there's this new character that's been around for a minute, and my uncle, we don't come from a comic book family, but my family is Jamaican, and you know, we come from my uncle as well comes from a single mother parent. And me as well, I come from a single mother household as well. So we had nothing but cartoons and games and things to keep us, you know, entertained as kids. So my uncle Corey, yes, he essentially knew about Miles, and he was like, yeah, I know about Miles, and he was like, yeah, you should do your research. He was created in 2008 by Ben, So I started to do my own research, but yeah, my uncle Corey told me about Miles, so I started to do my own research, and then, you know, gradually I grew with Miles, because I got Miles when I was maybe 19, turning 20, and that's when the show started, essentially in 2017, I believe, on Disney XD. So this was, you know, a little over scratching 10 years now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where it all started, and then gradually building up, I got to grow with him. Now he's close to writing his college essay, so I got to grow with him through puberty, through, you know, now finally hitting adulthood, manhood in a way, you know?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so why do you think Miles Morales like resonates so much in this modern culture, like worldwide? He's basically a global phenomenon, right? The character's so evolved so much. In your opinion?
I think it's the youth. I think it's the youth aspect. You know, kids, man, we're always, you know, as we get older, you know, I'm gonna make everyone laugh in here. We always want to know what's the hit thing that kids are saying, what's the new thing, what's cool now. And I feel like Miles is that, you know, essential, okay, you know, this is the now, and this is, you know, what the kids want to see, essentially. Let's spice it up, let's make it different, because we love Peter Parker's story. I mean, Peter Parker's story that's something that I grew up on, the Tobey Maguire, you know, movies. So, you know, Tobey for me was my guy. You know, I looked up to Blade, Punisher, you know, I was a Marvel kid, and not just to say that because I'm with them now, but growing up, I was a Marvel kid, you know, so, I think Miles, you know, to go back to your question, is like the modern version of just the today's trials and tribulations, the today's, you know, new coming of age style, you know, just everything that the kids want to do now, and want to, you know, they want to be now, they want to dress like, you know, they want to sound like, you know what I mean? So I feel like it's that new coming of age, that new generation. I feel like that's why, you know, a lot of kids are you know, just coming, you know, just having this fandom, what's the word I'm looking for? This infatuation of, you know, this new character, Miles. So I feel like, yeah, that's the number one thing. But I also have some other things too. I mean, you know, he's a pretty cool guy. He's a pretty cool guy to know, you know. But yeah.
How did you find the mannerisms of Miles? Because obviously he sits at a very interesting intersection.
Yeah.
Peter Parker's legacy is huge, and even just being a young, like, black Afro-Latinx, like, boy, there is a lot that, like, I feel like there's these assumptions that come with how he looks. But how did you find that authenticity to give him that vulnerability, that youthfulness? That
For sure. Yeah. Well, okay. So I'm half Jamaican as well too. So Miles being half Puerto Rican, I kind of understood his, you know, his first generation of becoming from, you know, immigrant, you know, whatever, you know, just that type of background. So I come from that as well too. And, you know, Miles essentially is just a young boy growing up in New York. you know, and I have family in Jamaica, Queens, you know, Lorton Boulevard. I'm gonna give out the address, but I have family in Jamaica, Queens too. So I have family in New York as well too. So I spent some time in New York, so I know how that energy is. I know how spunky, how fast paced they are in New York. So just putting both of those together, and then finding my inner youth, you know, my inner big kid and my inner self. You know, I'm still, you know, in my inner youth. I'm still, you know, young myself, but I'm getting older, and, you know, seeing how I started off with Miles and how Miles is going now, I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely seen the growth that, you know, we've had to take him through. So, you know, now I think it's just the impact, I feel like, is the main and important reason now. Is just the impact for the families, for the kids. I've gotten so many stories about what Miles has brought people through, what the stories have brought people through, and, you know, Miles, the game came out during COVID. You know, so I couldn't do any cons. I couldn't do nothing. I couldn't do no interviews, no podcasts. So I was kind of hurt at home. But then I'm hearing, you know, when COVID happened, we were just playing nothing but Miles and Pete. You know, we were playing nothing but Spider-Man. So it was kind of like a conundrum in itself, you know, because I wanted to meet, you know, everyone that was playing the game, and I wanted to go out and see everybody else playing the game, but we couldn't. You know, the world was on lockdown. So now this is kind of my redemption, and now kind of like my time to be like, okay, this is who I am. This is who, you know, the guy is. This is who he is, you know. But yes. Did I answer? I hope that answered, right? Yeah? Okay. I'm trying to think. Yeah, okay.
Sure. Just stepping away from Spider-Man for a second. Sam was another character
yes.
in Last of Us, and one of my podcast co-hosts is an enormous Last of Us fan.
Yeah,
got
I love it.
4 podcasts going at the moment for the TV show.
I love it.
I just wondered, how was it playing that role in the game, and what did you think of what they did with the TV adaptation of that character, which was slightly different, but it was beautifully done, I thought.
Yes, likewise. Okay, so yeah, The Last of Us was my first video game ever. Yeah, my first game, my first introduction into the mocap world was with Naughty Dog and Sony, and I owe everything to Neil Druckmann. Those guys, the Naughty Dog team, man, I love y'all so much. So just to say all that, so that was my first game, and I stepped into that game when I was like 13 or 14 years old, and man, it was a trip. You know, it was definitely a trip, because being a kid and then coming from, you know, already being in the theatrical world, I'd already done, you know, certain movies that, you know, hit the limelight, and, you know, that saw that part of the industry. So I was very new to this mocap world. I was very new to this video game and everything. I was so as a kid, I'm like a kid in a candy store. You know, I'm like, oh, this is how this is made. I'm like, oh, this game was made with this, you know, so I'm like learning all this stuff. So it was just a big playground for me at the end of the day. And Neil asked me, he was like, are you ready to be a zombie today? And I was like, yeah, I'm ready to be a zombie. What? He was like, okay, give me your best zombie rendition. I was like, okay. He was like, no, we're not doing that. So, you know, so he was like, so it was like a growth process, but also fun. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, you know, who played Troy and Ellie, they were helping me with school on set. Yeah, they were helping me complete some school on set so we can, you know, hurry and get back to work. So that process was just fun, man. And then 10 years later to see it, you know, get the shine that, you know, that they put into it, you know, it's crazy. And Kevon, so he actually won an interview. He won an Emmy for that role, and it's so crazy because I got a DM from his mom saying that, hey, you know, he's a big fan of Miles, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm a huge fan of y'all. He did an amazing job, Because Troy ended up telling me at the premiere of The Last of Us first season, he told me, he whispered in my ear, he was like, wait till you see what they did with Sam. And I was like, okay. So, you know, and then Miles, you know, incorporating ASL into our game, you know, that was kind of like a best of both worlds, I want to say. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, Kevon, I heard he's a huge fan of Miles. And, you know, he's what, 7, 8 years old? Yeah, like 9 maybe now. So, you know, shout out to Kevon. Love you, little bro. I haven't met him yet. No, I haven't met him yet. But yeah, congratulations on your Emmy. And yeah, he did an amazing job, man. They couldn't have casted anybody better, to be honest, and made that switch any better, to be honest, because it was a little more little more heartbreaking when you really put the logic into their world and what that's crazy. That's crazy to really think about that. Like, what if, you know? Yeah, what if, yeah.
So you've worked with both Insomniac and Naughty Dog, which are huge game studios. Do they have is it a similar way of working for both of them, or do they have sort of different processes? Obviously, Miles and Sam are very different characters, and the mocap's more has increased in sort of technology over time. How is it sort of working with both these like iconic video games?
Oh man, when I say iconic, yeah, bro. When I realized, of course, Naughty Dog. Of course, when I started with Naughty Dog, I was a kid, so you know they were just laughing. You know, they were just a little 13, 14-year-old kid, and me seeing their studio for the first time. They gave me all the Uncharted's to play while we were making the game. They gave me a whole PlayStation 2. They were like hooking me up. Like Naughty Dog, they were like, here, just play all of our games while we make it. So they were showing me, you know, the both of the worlds. They were taking me through the studio, showing me how they make it, and then showing me like, here, like, hey, this is what you're about to make, you know what I mean? And this is what you're about to play. So, you know, seeing their process, and then Insomniac, I've got to grow with them. They've got to see me mature as, you know, from a young actor that's had some experience, but now growing into learning myself as an adult, you know what I'm saying? So Insomniac has seen the growth, and then Naughty Dog kind of got like the fun kid, wild hype side, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say, because Insomniac essentially got the adult side of me, Naughty Dog got the kid side. But when I found out that when I was a kid, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro were my number, and I'm not just saying this because I worked with the companies, y'all. I'm not just saying this. I promise you. I went to Kids Are Kids daycare in Atlanta, Georgia, so we had little few games to play. And Spyro, Crash, and Mario, and I think Madden were the 4 games that we had to play. So just looking back on it now, getting to work with the 2 companies that I used to play in daycare, you know, it's just mind-blowing to me, to be honest. So, you know, so Insomniac, to this day, I love y'all family, you know what I mean? They literally they're still watching me grow. I can't say too much. Can't say too much, but yeah, they've watched me grow into a man. And then Naughty Dog, they got that like I said, that youthful side of me seeing that mocap world and just being a kid in a candy store, you know. So me seeing their different sides. Some of the guys in Naughty Dog literally are at Marvel now because of the success of Last of Us. Yeah. So some of those guys have moved up, you know, in that industry because of the success that The Last of Us has brought to the gaming world. So, you know, so I'm seeing some of those guys, you know, at the meetings with Sony and Marvel. I'm seeing some of those guys like, yeah, I've known you since you were 12. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, my memory's so shot, man. It's, you know, but yeah, man, like, you know, being a part of both of those companies is a trip, man. It's a blessing, man, and I can't ask for anything better, to be honest. Like, and I'm still just like, you know what I mean? When I go back and think about Crash and Spyro, I'm like, I was really playing that at like 7, 8 years old, and now I'm like, this is crazy. Swear to God. Swear to my life. But yeah, but I also wanted to add to your question earlier too. Peter Parker's story too is something that is universal, you know, and I feel like Miles is kind of giving that as well too. You know, Peter Parker's story is a story of definitely trials and tribulation, but of pain and overcoming pain. You know, if you really think about Peter Parker's story, is, you know, he loses both of his parents and has to live with his aunt and uncle. You know, I was raised in a single mom parent home, so essentially I didn't have that father upside bringing. You know, I didn't have that as much, and at all, not as much at all. So resonating with that Peter Parker side, and now Miles losing his dad through death, I feel like all these worlds are blending together, and the main message is to overcome that pain and become that hero for somebody else, you know, because we all got to go through something, you know what I mean, in life, whether it's family, friends, school, health, relationships, whatever it is, you know. I feel like God always brings us back to that number one thing, you know, and that is who we are, love, and family. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's amazing to see like how video games have been so central to
I know.
all these stages of your life. But what are some of like the video games that really influenced you throughout?
Okay. So when I was really, I want to say, I'm gonna put this in there before I start. I turned my TV off at like 15, 16 years old because I was so consumed into, doing a lot of projects that I knew how they were being made. So I kind of just turned my TV off because I kind of knew how everything. I couldn't watch a scary movie the same. I couldn't get scared from a scary movie the same. Like it's different because I know how it's being made. So with games now, so I went to gaming for a minute. I was playing games for the longest time, and as a kid, I was playing a lot of racing games, a lot of Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Def Jam Fight for New York, a lot of story games, a lot of story cinematic games. Of course, I wasn't too much of a sports guy. My uncles were. They're watching everything. They're my uncles. They scarred me as a kid. Nah, they would never let me win any sports games, man. Madden, 2K, NBA, all those. I would be so young, they would never let me win. So I never liked sports games, bro. I used to always throw my controller like, why are you doing? You're not letting me win, man. But so I was always like Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto. I'm really cool with the Grand Theft Auto guys now. Steve, Sean, Ned, those are my big bros. Troy Baker, of course, like the storyline, the cinematic games were the ones I kind of gravitated to the most. You know what I mean? So definitely I want to say Def Jam Fight from New York, Grand Theft Auto, I said them all. Call of Duty. There's another one. There's another one in there. Oh, Assassin's Creed. I was playing Assassin's Creed for a minute. I was playing, let me think. Of course, all the Uncharteds. I beat all the Uncharteds. Of course, Last of Us, fully completed like a movie. I want to say, let's see. And it's so funny. People always ask, do I play my own Spider-Man games? No, I do not. It is so hard because I know, we have table reads, we have reshoots, we have, 9-hour days on set, but, it feels like 9-hour days on set. So, I know everything about the game, so it's kind of hard to really get into it and like, oh, I wonder what's next, when you know what's next. Yeah, so it's kind of like really hard. So I love to like call my like little cousins or like my play little brothers and my friends that play it, and I want to go over their house and just watch them play it and see their reaction. Or like the streaming guys. I'm really good friends with all the new streaming guys, the Kais and Nats and all those guys that are doing the streaming stuff. So I love watching their reaction of the games and just seeing people the world play. That's me watching my game. It's watching the world play. I like that. Like I just said that. No, watching the world play is like how I kind of get my feel of like, oh, okay, yeah, we did a good job.
Does anyone have a last question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you've been involved with Spider-Man, Last of Us, franchise things. If you had the opportunity to be in any franchise, something past, something current, or some sort of future thing that maybe hasn't come out yet, what would it be?
I definitely like staying in the action lane for sure. I mean, all games are essentially action. Oh man, probably like a John Wick or like a Matrix type of movie. like a Matrix type of game, like a John Wick type of Matrix type of game.
Yeah.
Where it's like the hitman like on a heist or like trying to be like the action guy in a suit. I love wearing suits. I don't know if y'all noticed. I love wearing suits. Thank you. And then coming to London, I was like, I'm bringing my best blazers, man. I'm bringing my best blazers. But yeah, something like that. I want to say something, very serious, very James Bondish. A game like that. Yeah, I want to say, since you said something of the future, something like that. Yeah, I would definitely.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much, man. Thank y'all so much. Yes. Oh, do y'all have my Instagram and social medias and all that?
Yep, go on.
You got it? Okay, I'm gonna give y'all my Instagram. It's Najito, Najjito, Najito. And then if y'all do the Twitter and X, it's just Nadji Jeter, Najjeter. That's it.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all. That's not